Hey, so I just saw Steve here, by the way, coming at you for Brigantine. Actually, I've never done one of these videos before, so bear with me. I'm kind of a noob. I saw a really, really good cover of Van Halen's Eruption on Facebook just a little while ago, and so that kind of sparked me to want to make this video. My point in doing this is not to tell anyone that they're doing anything wrong, because I don't think when you're learning someone else's stuff, I don't think that there's any such thing as a wrong interpretation. In fact, if you don't get it, quote unquote, right, like the artist did, and you wind up doing it your own way, that kind of helps you find your own style and your own way of doing things. And so I think it's perfectly valid. But with that said, I thought I'd throw in my 2 cents on a couple sections of Eruption that kind of get overlooked. Everyone knows, this part. Everyone knows this part. That stuff's been studied to death. A couple parts that get overlooked are that part, and then the and I thought I'd, like I said, throw my 2 cents in on the insight that I'd gained. I'm a huge Eddie fan. Eddie's the reason I started playing guitar back when I was a teenager. And like so many other guitar players, I spent God knows how many hours sitting on the edge of my bed with headphones on, slowing the riffs down, slowing first, with analog tapes, with the turntable, bringing it down to half speed. Later on, with the digital counterparts, the programs, and then later on, now I like to use Logic because it has a function where you can slow things down up to 50%, and the clarity is usually like a lot better than used to be available with programs that slowed things down digitally or in the analog realm. But I spent so much time poring over the recordings, then live bootlegs, and like the live videos, like Van Halen Live Without a Net off the 5150 tour, or earlier. It used to be hard to get your hands on. Now it's all over YouTube, like the Van Halen performance at the US Festival in 1983 when they were touring on the Diver Down album. I think they broke a record for like the highest paid act for any like one show, like millions, because it was Van Halen. Yeah, I can't tell you how many hours I spent. That doesn't make me an expert. Doesn't mean that I'm right. So please don't take it that way. But I do feel like I've gained quite a bit of insight from all those hours just totally nerding out on Eddie's stuff. And one insight I've gained into Eddie's playing over all those years is that Eddie's very much a creature of habit. There's certain stock patterns that he seems to fall back on, and that doesn't I'm not trying to pull the curtain back and reveal the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz kind of. It's not that at all. If anything, to me, it sort of reinforces the idea, the notion of what a genius he was, because he would take, in some cases, what would appear to be a fairly limited number of finger patterns, for example, and he would get so much mileage out of them, like they wouldn't sound the same from song to song. Like even on Van Halen 1, there's this one pattern. He's really big with the 1-2-4 thing. He uses it all over the place, and it never sounds the same. He uses it twice, and I'm the one in two different positions, and it doesn't. You don't even realize. Oh, that's the same pattern he just did 10 measures ago, or whatever. Like that kind of thing. You can feel your love tonight. He uses this that 1-2-4 pattern, starting here. Something like that. It's been so long since I played it, so forgive me. Later on the album, Ice Cream Man, he winds up the solo with the same pattern, almost the exact same sequence of notes. And it sounds nothing like it. And in both cases, it's really hip and it sounds really cool, and you're going, what the hell did he just do? And so there's an example of like where Eddie will just take one pattern and he just gets loads of mileage out of it. Speaking of I'm a One, that kind of unlocked a little bit of the Eddie puzzle for me, because when I first learned that song, to me that's still one of the most challenging Van Halen songs to play, just because of the tempo, the groove. If you slow it down, you hear like Eddie's like swinging, he's grooving hard, it's not just speed. It's not just flash. I mean, there's some serious groove going on, and most people realize by now that what a great rhythm player Eddie was, and how that rhythmic sense informed his soloing, and that was one of the reasons it set his soloing apart from so many guys who just breathed fire on the neck, but they lacked something, and I think that was one of those crucial elements that a lot of other players lacked, was that really strong underlying sense of groove and rhythm. But getting back to I'm the One, there's this pattern, there's this little lick he does in the beginning, and I'm not even going to try to play everything fast, because I haven't played a lot of these songs in years, so I'm not trying to lay down any gauntlet, but here, I'll give you an example. Like the riff on the One goes like this. And then, right there, he goes into his first fill. Let me do it again. Right? Sounds like really wild, and what the hell's he doing? What he's doing is he's doing this combination of open string and fretted note pull-offs in the 5th position. So he's hanging, the song's in A, and he's hanging in the A pentatonic pattern, but he's not doing that. What he's doing is he's taking notes in that box shape there and combining with pull-offs. Right? And then he moves that around. And then moves it to the next string, and then he concludes the phrase like that. And then that relates to Eruption, because the one section that I think a lot of people, and again I hesitate to use the word get it wrong, because there's no right or wrong way of doing anything, but when I'm trying to learn, when I get really into like a certain player, like Eddie Van Halen for example, my thing wasn't always how did he do that, it was how did he think to do that. Like what made his brain go in that direction that no one else's brain went in. And to me, part of unlocking that was to figure out, well, what patterns what scales, what patterns, what techniques is he using? And in the case of that, realizing that he was doing this weird thing in the A box position, but combining open strings, made me go, oh, okay. And then I saw a live video that he doing Eruption, and when he got to that one part, again, I played that, didn't sound, but I'm pretty sure that's what he's playing there. A light bulb went off, like, wait a minute, he's using the same patterns in a lot of places on this album. And again, it's really cool, he really juggles it around so you don't even know that he's playing the same patterns. He gets so much mileage out of them, like I said. But when I saw what he was doing in, like, I think it was Live Without a Net, there was a pretty good shot of him doing that particular sequence of notes, that little run, that little section. And that's when I kind of realized, wait, I think he's kind of doing a variation on what he did on the One. And then I kind of checked that against the transcriptions, and I slowed it down myself. I could hear the notes, and then it was just a matter of spending hours and hours and hours, and I realized what he was doing was the same thing he was doing on the One, but he was moving it up the neck chromatically instead of moving, vertically from higher strings to lower strings. So what he's doing in Eruption is, so he's repeating that pattern. And it's kind of like he's getting going, and then that pull off is a springboard to the rest of the riff. So see, I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing, and then the next time around, he kind of moves the idea one string lower. But this time he's not quite as chromatic about it. He's a little more linear. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing with that section. The next section, oh, here's another cool thing about Eddie. Eddie doesn't pick as much as you think he does. If it's on one string, obviously, he's picking fast. When he's going in between strings, if he's doing any picking, it's usually hammer, 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 like pick, hammer, hammer, pick, pick, pick. He does that little flick of the wrist thing. that kind of thing. The rest of the time, like when he's doing those runs, like if he wants them to sound picked, he's just bearing down more with his right hand palm mute, because it adds a percussiveness to a hammer on pull off thing. You hear guys like Nuno Betancourt do the same thing, like He-Man Wominator. If you listen to that, it sounds like he's picking everything. He's not. There's videos out there of Nuno explaining how that riff goes, and you can see it's all mostly you're just hitting the strings hard with your finger and your fingers, and you're doing a heavy palm mute, so it almost kind of creates the illusion of more notes being picked than are really being picked. Again, it's an aesthetic thing. It's not a put down. It's not, oh, that's all Eddie does, because it's still really challenging and it still sounds cool, and that's the Eddie Van Halen rule. If it sounds good, it is good. So in that, you don't even really have to pick. You really don't have to pick the leading note. So, like pretty much only like the G and the B string does. Sorry, I'm really slapping that up, but so anything he's hitting on the D string there, it's just a hammer on from nowhere, as they call it. And if you watch like the live video, his right hand's not doing a whole lot, but it goes by so fast it's hard to tell when he's picking and when he's not. But if you really look at his right hand, he's not picking that much. So that's what's going on with that. Now with that higher run that comes in just before the famous Kreutzer violin etude. Right before that, that's where he does a little diminished thing, and you'll hear him do that like in the beginning of the solo for the full bug off Diver Down, and for I think he does that run in Girl Gone Bad on 1984. It's almost in the same spot too. It's like in kind of in the F sharp position. It's a quasi diminished shape because it's employing symmetrical minor thirds. But if it were true diminished or diminished 7, then when we got to the E string, we'd move that up 1 fret. We're not doing that. Staying in position. Again, he's not trying to stay theoretically correct to any one scale or mode or concept. It's more about creating an impression of this blinding array of sort of dissonant notes, creating sort of this sense of motion and chaos, which he's great at, and that's what he's doing in that little run in Eruption is. But I think he kind of double picks one note, like he hammers and then picks, and then that's what he's doing right there. If you slow it down, you'll hear it. And then he goes into the F sharp pentatonic or F sharp blues. And then there's a dive, and I don't have a bar, so I'm not gonna do that. But that's what he's doing there. So to recap, like the first phrase in question is, so it starts in the G. And then the other part moves it down 1 string. So and so that's that part, and again the diminished thing. It's that, I'm sorry, in the 14th position. So, I actually stretched too far. And so on. So there you go. Now, like in full bug, just for fun, that's how he does that run. Again, that same sort of diminished shape. He's not worried. If you look at the transcription, it'll kind of point out that he's not really hitting that all the way across the strings. So then it doesn't matter. He's not trying to stay true to one pattern. He's going for it. He's got a basic idea. He's got a basic structure of where he's going, and then he just goes for it. And then he's got that ridiculous left hand. And he's got that. So that's what's going on with that. I hope that's helpful, or at least kind of gives you another way of approaching some really classic Eddie Van Halen solos. I may be right, I may be wrong. I think I'm probably close to right, but I'm always open to correction. So, peace.